Members, good afternoon. It's the appointed time and we have a quorum. I call to order the meeting. Agenda item 1, information papers issued since the last meeting. Since the last meeting, the Secretariat has not issued any information paper. Agenda item 2, items for discussion at the next meeting. Next meeting will be a policy briefing. The meeting will be held from 4:30 to 6 p.m. on the 30th of September. It's a Tuesday. The Secretary for Commerce and Economic Development, the Secretary for Innovation, Technology and Industry, as well as the Secretary for Constitutional and Mainland Affairs will give us a briefing on the Chief Executive's 2025 policy address. The next regular meeting will be held at 4:45 p.m. on the 14th of October. Again, it's a Tuesday. The administration suggests that we discuss the following item, that is Hong Kong's participation in the Belt and Road Initiative. Do members have any views on the above proposal? We all agree? Okay. Agenda item 3, progress report on research and development centers. Let's invite the government officials as well as the representatives from the R&D centers to join us. I will first ask the government representatives as well as the representatives from the R&D centers to speak. Members who have questions, please press the request to speak button now. When the Secretary is ready, please walk us through the paper. Chairman, members, INT is a core driving force of the INT ecosystem in Hong Kong. R&D centers are under the purview of the INT Commission. They conduct technology transfer and bring significant benefits to the community. Looking back in year 2024-25, the external environment was still complex and volatile. Different organizations faced geopolitical challenges and tensions. Despite so, the R&D centers saw an increase in terms of their income. In that year, they got about $398 million of income. For commercialization, the income was about $900 million. Compared to the previous year, the increase was 29% and 30% respectively. There was about 100 new projects and it involved about $800 million. As at this March, the R&D centers saw a total of 443 ongoing projects, of which 200 so projects involved industry participation. There was 773 companies, and the numbers saw an increase compared to the previous years. I believe that members from the relevant INT events that you took part could see that the R&D centers yielded results in terms of helping tech companies upgrade and transform themselves. Technology could help improve people's lives. To give you a couple of examples, Estrie and Pok Oi Hospital Board of Directors together, they in Tuen Mun, Lam Tay rolled out an elderly care project. They made use of technology to build the biggest smart nursing and residential care home for the elderly in Hong Kong. And R&D centers also provided one-stop services to help track logistics data for the TLB. There was also a cross-boundary platform to strengthen the industry's competitiveness. NAMI as well as the Housing Bureau together, they helped enhance housing building efficiency in 2025. At the Edison Award, NAMI as well as other R&D centers got a lot of golden and silver awards, so their work was highly recognized. Moving forward, to tie in with the strategies in the INT development blueprint, we will focus on the cutting-edge technologies promoted by our country. We will set up MRDI, the Microelectronics R&D Institute. We'll also build the AI R&D Institute and the Life and Health Technology Research Institutes. And the APAS will be incorporated under the Productivity Council. ASTRI and NAMI will be combined to create synergy. We also have Hong Kong RITA as well as the Logistics and Supply Chain Multi-Tech R&D Center. They will transform gradually to become the R&D centers for industry, starting from the 1st of April 2028. The government will continue to support these two R&D centers projects, but we will no longer offer subsidies to these two R&D centers. We will continue to communicate with them so that they can run on a self-financing basis. We will continue to support the various R&D centers, and together we will contribute to building Hong Kong as an international INT center. There is a short video that briefs members on our work over the past year in terms of technology transfer and commercialization. Afterwards, we will take questions from members. How long is the video? About 6 minutes. APAS makes use of innovation and technology.
驅動手機應用程式，有效識別與減少危險駕駛行為。此外，已經有超過200部嘅的士已經裝咗 APAS 研發嘅智能咪錶 Cap， 亦即將會喺幾百部嘅的士安裝，有望整合車聯網技術及車隊管理系統，推動的士業數碼升級。喺新能源方面 ，APAS 成功研發咗智能19座低地台小巴、全集成移動式加氫站，以及一款採用甲醇燃料電池嘅新型智能無人物流車，成功測試智能隧道質量檢測系統，評估無人車嘅定位與導航能力。未來 APAS 將繼續深耕綠色運輸、智慧出行、智能系統及新興應用科技方案，助力香港成為智慧城市典範。應科園成立25年嚟，專注6大科研領域，已經攞到1200項專利，並將1600項技術轉移俾業界。我哋成立咗4個科技聯盟，促進政產學研投合作，加快科研成果喺各行各業落地應用。位於深圳河套嘅辦事處於舊年開幕，有助加強同大灣區嘅科研合作。我哋同政府部門、公私營機構合作，推動香港智慧城市嘅發展，尤其喺智慧出行同金融科技方面。例如我哋研發嘅人工智能貸款文件審查系統已經喺銀行應用。喺科研成果商業化方面，我哋研發嘅 SOC 晶片即將由合作伙伴進行量產，將影像傳輸速度更快、更清晰嘅內窺鏡產品推出市場，亦會加強同各持份者合作，鞏固香港國際創科中心地位。香港紡織及成衣研發中心 Hong Kong RITA 以應用研發推動紡織業高增值發展。我哋成功研發低耗能嘅溶劑技術，喺混紡織物中提取尼龍，令呢一種重要纖維得以循環再用。同中文大學合作，開發專為長者設計嘅寬布護墊，採用 3D 掃描同自動晶格結構生成，透氣舒適，簡易附加喺褲上，有效降低跌倒風險。開研聯同 ISS 香港及 Redress 回收制服同舊衣。 經人工智能分類後，適合重用嘅衣物可轉售，棉同聚酯混紡嘅衫就會用水熱分離技術處理，再轉化成環保紗線，延續衣物壽命。同食物環境衛生署合作，為清潔員工設計舒適耐用嘅雨衣同工鞋。我哋亦積極用新模式推動技術轉化，同上海企業成立綠研坊會平台，推動智能設計、生產優化同智能穿戴等範疇發展。Hong Kong Rita 正與跨地域合作同科技融合，打造可持續、創新、具全球影響力嘅紡織製衣業。物流及供應鏈多元技術研發中心一直積極與政府業界及學術界攜手合作，致力研發創新科技，推動各行各業發展。與運輸及物流局 TLB 合作研發港口社區系統 PCS， 促進港口信息互聯互通，推動智慧港口發展。系統提供一站式全天候貨物實時追蹤，聯通海、陸、空運輸資訊、分析及提示功能，以及一單多報等增值電子服務功能，提升香港港口營運效率及競爭力。與食物環境衛生署研發冷氣機滴水偵測技術，系統配備自動對焦及遙控雲台，精準鎖定大廈嘅滴水源頭，大幅提升執法效率。與土木工程拓展署 CEDD 合作研發智能泥石巴系統，實時檢測山泥傾瀉風險。系統一旦檢測泥石撞擊，就會即刻發出警報，提高緊急應變效率。聯同漁農自然護理署研發智能山火監測系統，結合紅外線熱成像與人工智能技術，全天候監察郊野公園嘅山火風險，加強早期預警及應變能力。團隊堅持創新，與社會各界攜手，為香港嘅智慧城市發展貢獻力量。香港微電子研發院 MRDI 於2024年9月成立，科研分部將進駐元朗微電子中心，建立和營運核心嘅中試生產線。今年內安裝設備包括潔淨室，預計喺2026年完成2條中試線嘅安裝調試並投入運作。MRDI 聚焦第3代半導體，包括碳化矽同氮化鎵，應用於新能源汽車及可再生能源系統等。MRDI 今年內啟動2個科研項目，以氮化鎵為基礎，研發針對下一代嘅新型晶片，為未來嘅 GPU 核心提供穩定嘅運行環境，滿足 AI 算力系統日益增長嘅需求。以碳化矽為基礎，研發下一代封裝技術，達至提效及降低成本。納米及先進材料研發院 NAMI 通過材料研發推動香港嘅創科，與企業合作把前沿科研商品化，提升產品競爭力。NAMI 與房委會共同開發嘅智易構創新結合技術，將用於第2代組裝合成建築法項目，進一步簡化工序，並簡薄組件間連接牆身厚度。雙方更於今年7月中簽訂合作備忘錄，加強 MIC 相關科研合作。NAMI 嘅等離子驅動催化技術已經喺啟德體育園廣泛應用，節省 90% 能源，縮減 70% 空間，並有效淨化空氣中嘅有害物質。喺香港國際機場，NAMI 嘅極端溫度電池為智慧手推車追蹤器供電，該電池可於-40度至85度運作，並能以太陽能充電，可持續2至5年嘅實時追蹤，提升效率。NAMI 利用自主疏水物質溶解技術，研發出革命性水溶性薑黃素，大幅提升傳統薑黃素嘅吸收率與溶解度，並具備優異嘅儲存穩定性。NAMI 嘅超薄壓力感測器顛覆醫療健康領域，此產品可定製、耐用、具成本效益。智慧城市到可持續發展，NAMI 以先進技術配合政策，透過材料創新營造香港未來。喺2024至25年度，研發中心嚟自業界及其他收入約為3億9100萬元，商品化及其他收入則約為1億9510萬元，較上一個年度分別增加咗29%同23%。
好，唔該。
Thank you. I'll now open the floor for questions. Following members have pressed the button, there are Professor William Wong, Dr. Johnny the Vice Chairperson, Dr. Tan Yue Heng, Mr. Dennis Leung, Mr. Martin Liao, Mr. Robert Lee, Dr. Wendy Hong, and Professor Priscilla Leung. 4 minutes for each member. Professor William Wong. Thank you, Chairman. I have a couple of questions. First, R&D centers have the opportunity to work with the government and other private organizations. NAMI, as well as a local telecom company in the 10th Belt and Road Summit, signed MOUs concerning Belt and Road Initiative. My question is the government supportive of this kind of partnership? Will the government encourage R&D centers to launch more of such partnerships? Will support be given to them in this regard? Also, I've just found out that in the next panel meeting, the administration will brief us on the Belt and Road Initiative. I welcome that. I'd like to learn more about it. My second question. I'd like to express my appreciation. Just now, the Secretary mentioned that these R&D centers have won a lot of international awards. After winning these awards, were there any commercialization follow-up projects? We have to make good use of these. Will there be a tracking mechanism for the projects that won awards so that we can follow up on these winning projects? Lastly, I'd like to ask about paragraph 45. It is mentioned that starting from the 1st of April 2028, the government will no longer subsidize the operation of RITA and NAMI. I'd like to ask about the progress of the work of these two centers. Will RITA as well as LCSM be able to run on a self-financing basis by after 2028?
I only have 2 minutes left, so how can I possibly answer 3 questions? But I thank you for your questions anyway. Concerning whether we support the research and development institutes entering into partnership with potential partners, of course, we welcome it. And actually, we encourage them to do so because this would really help the relevant industries also to upgrade themselves and reinvent themselves. And this is one of the major focuses of the government. And of course, the government is fully behind that kind of move. Now, as for Belt and Road, actually the R&D centers, through various means, for some time now, such as various exchange programs, such as exhibition and convention and so on and so forth, been publicizing their research fruits for the benefit of countries along Belt and Road. For instance, MOU was entered into with Malaysian partners, and also there is a joint program with Brussels, and also visits have been paid to Southeast Asia. And during the visit, very important agreements have been signed. You also asked whether there will be a tracking program to make sure that award-winning projects will be followed up on and will be fully commercialized. Now, these accolades show that during the past years, we have won international recognition, and we hope that the R&D centers, especially Astrid, can even better commercialize the award-winning projects and the award-winning products. As for tracking the progress, indeed, this is some fruit for thoughts. And I'll go back to talk to the research and development centers to see how best we can do it. I myself personally feel that this is a good idea. As for them being financially self-sufficient, so I'm going to defer the question to the two relevant directors because now it's only 3 years away from 2028. So you can tell them about your finances. So regarding you being financially self-sufficient, I think you can give a brief answer. Indeed, thank you, member, for the question. As for being self-sufficient, whether we are confident that we'll achieve that, indeed, we do have the confidence. But of course, the two bottom lines are how can we reduce costs? About reduction of costs, we definitely won't start reducing costs 3 years down the road. We have already been doing that. We have been trying to reduce costs through managing our staff resources. we are going to do a lot of consolidation and relocation of our facilities in order to save on staff costs. Secondly, opening up fresh revenues. Once again, we are not sitting on our butt waiting for the 3-year deadline. Actually, we've been doing that. We have a lot of IPs in hand. We hope that through unique IPs, we can work with the industries and come up with something new. And that is going to open up new revenues for us. Right. Now, concerning logistics, LCSM. Indeed, it is a challenge for us to become self-sufficient 3 years down the road. But if you look at past year figure, I think the numbers will show that our commercialization revenue has increased by 142%. And also the worth of the projects that have been implemented in conjunction with the industries has increased from $2.5 million to $35 million. So what we're going to do is to indeed find ways to increase revenue. And as for reducing costs, we are going to look at rentals and we are going to look at consolidation of our labs. And the target, of course, is that we'll become self-sufficient financially 3 years down the road. And definitely we'll work towards that as hard as it's possible. So let's manage time better, because 4 minutes is for both questions and answer, not only questions. Next, indeed, S-Street has a lot of partnership programs, both within the mainland and outside of the mainland, including those in Hetao and also some programs with Malaysia. Can you share more information with us? For instance, what kind of specific projects that are in this category and what's the progress? And also, the 5 R&D centers under the Innovation Technology Department will be undergoing consolidation and also reinvention. I'd like to know whether this has anything to do with the budget deficit. If it doesn't, then what are the reasons? Now, concerning the details of the partnership programs, I think I'll defer them to the relevant R&D centers. I think one is with Malaysia and the other one is with Hetao, Shenzhen. So concerning the Hetao project, who's going to take that one? Thank you, Mr. Ng, for your question. First of all, concerning the Shenzhen Hetao Partnership Program, we have already set up at the S-Street office in Hetao, Shenzhen in 2024 October. And we've got several programs ongoing as partnership programs with Shenzhen Authority, and other programs are in the pipeline. And definitely the number of programs will increase between now and 2026. As for Malaysia, which is one of the Belt and Road countries, where we have signed an MOU with the Chambers of Commerce there, and we've been exploring ways to make use of new technologies for them to undergo smart transformation of the industries. And we are trying to attract the companies to make more use of Hong Kong's technology. Can you give us more specifics concerning the Hetao project? Mainly is in 2 areas. First of all, 3rd generation semiconductor, and secondly, telecommunication technology, because these are the 2 fortes of the S3. As for consolidation and transformation of the existing R&D centers, whether that has to do with budget deficit, I think that has more to do with the overall needs of Hong Kong's future developments. So it seems that it doesn't have a lot to do with budget deficit, because we are not talking about reducing the entire portfolio. We are only looking more closely at the outgoings of existing R&Ds and also the justification for setting up new R&Ds to see whether there is any overlapping with existing ones. So you may say that it is financially relevant, but it doesn't necessarily have a lot to do with the budget deficit. It has more to do with the overall positioning of Hong Kong's future development and also the blueprint of Hong Kong's development master plan. So we want to develop cutting-edge and state-of-the-art technologies for the benefit of Hong Kong's future development master plan and the overall configuration of Hong Kong's industrial developments. There will be 3 major industrial parks and 5 major R&D centers, and that would be the major configuration for Hong Kong science and technology development. And also, we'll set up 3 new research and development centers, including one for microelectronics, but it doesn't mean that the existing ones are obsolete. As you can see from the timetable, they all have their work cut out for them for the future. And as for the government, we will continue to require the R&D centers to continue to play their role effectively and cost-effectively. And for the R&D centers that have already become quite mature in their operation, we believe that they will be ready to go into the market and work more closely with industry so that they become more industry-oriented and so that the government can reduce our subsidies for these mature R&D centers. Mr. Ok Hung. I would like to follow up on 2 issues. Number 1, the 5 research institutes and the 5 research centers. Of course, they represent the top end of Hong Kong's research facilities. They are platforms for Hong Kong to cooperate with the mainland counterparts as well as global counterparts. So they are at the forefront of Hong Kong science and technology efforts. I'm sure there is still a lot of room for them to operate and maneuver. As for the reconfiguration of the 5 research and development centers, it seems that all of them will have to be subject to reconfiguration. Nam Yi will come under S Street, and Hong Kong RITA and LCSM will become industry-led. And so it seems that all R&D centers have to undergo reinvention. Does it mean that the historical missions have undergone changes? In the future Hong Kong Science and Technology Development Master Plan, what kind of roles will they still be playing? Mr. Sun? Thank you for your question. These research facilities have been given very important missions by the government. They are supposed to serve Hong Kong's ecology build-up in the industry development field. As Mr. Tam has pointed out, because of the existence of these platforms, there is now much more room for cooperation with the mainland. And also, we are encouraging them to go into exchanges with global partners and partnership with global partners. And they will participate actively in international academic exchanges and exhibition and seminars and so on and so forth. And they have been doing that, and they have won a lot of recognition through that. And also, the government is actively participating in the Belt and Road Initiative. And through that, the platforms have been opening up partnership opportunities with ASEAN partners. And also, these platforms have been working very closely with our university academic teams. And we support them in all of these pushes. The S Street does not specifically like Invest Hong Kong to be given a task of promoting international trade and industry development, but S Street has got its own unique mission. If you look at Hong Kong Productivity Council, it is basically Hong Kong oriented, but for A Street, because it's going to incorporate NAMI, and so its role is going to be strengthened and reconfigured. As for the other adjustments, of course, those adjustments are meant to keep them as part of a very important force to push Hong Kong's science and technology development forward. But the overall goal remains the same.
Mr. Dennis Low. My first question concerns LSCM. I see that the operating expenditure for LSCM in year 2024-25, we saw an increase of 22%. For staff costs, there was an increase of $8.5 million. And the R&D expenditure saw a drop of 25%. So the expenditure increased, but the cost for R&D operation dropped. What were the reasons behind? Also, according to paragraph 46, there will be a monitoring mechanism. The INT Commission will ask the 5 R&D centers to submit report on operating expenditure and then annual plans. Our concern is with the monitoring mechanism in assessing the performance of these R&D centers in terms of how they use their funds and how much they contribute to the INT sector. Will there be objective criteria that allows the INT Commission to make an assessment? Also, how will the R&D centers improve in the future to contribute to the sector? Within the education sector, we have self-assessment exercises and also reform mechanism. How will the INT Commission come up with more concrete criteria that would enable us to make a better assessment of the R&D centers, and thereby we can contribute to the development of INT in Hong Kong? I will ask the LSCM representative to address the first question. Then I'll invite Mr. Ivan Lee, Commissioner for INT, to address the other questions. On your 3 questions, I will first respond to the second question. Why was there a drop of 25% in terms of the R&D expenditure? From year 2023 to 25, every year, we saw a R&D cost of $500 million, $150 million. And because there were some delays, we saw a drop of 25% in year 2024-25, in relation to an increase of 22% for the operating cost. That was because of an increase of staffing. We have to get prepared for having to operate on a self-financing basis 3 years later. So we have to introduce lab equipment and devices. We have to also increase resources for INT security. We also have to have staff to help us speed up the commercialization capacity. The last question was how come we maintained the same number of R&D projects? Now, in terms of the number of R&D projects and the amount we devoted, they were more or less the same. But in terms of the combination, we saw a significant increase in terms of industry income and sponsorship from the market. That is exactly because we have to be prepared to run on a self-financing basis, and we therefore require our staff to get more income from the market. Now, Mr. Ivan Lee. It is crucial how the government monitor the work of the R&D centers. All along, we've been assessing the work of the R&D centers from 6 aspects. First, the industry income received by the centers, the R&D projects that involve the participation of the industry, and thirdly, the number of companies that take part in these projects. These will tell us whether the R&D's work meets the needs of the industry and whether there is direct participation from the industry. Another 3 criteria we stick to is the number of research talents engaged under the Research Talent Hub, as well as the number of projects that benefit the public trial scheme. For each R&D center, we have a board of directors and a dedicated scope of work. Each quarter, these R&D centers have to report to their board of directors about their latest work progress. For certain indicators, if the centers fail to meet the relevant targets, they will have to report to the directors the reason behind and how they will be able to catch up. And every year, these centers have to submit reports to the INT Commission about their work over the past year and their annual and their future work plan. Throughout the process, if the INT Commission and the Board of Directors believe that the R&D centers have to do more, then we will reflect our suggestions on the work reports submitted by the R&D centers. This is how we monitor these centers and how we give our comments on their future work plan. Next, Mr. Martin Liao. During the 2 sessions work report in March this year, there was mentioned that we have to address the rat race competition problems, and we have to also focus on new energy vehicle industry. And in order to do so, we have to rely on INT development and new productive forces. I see that we have yielded results through the 5 R&D centers, and these centers have won quite a number of international awards. My question is, for these 5 centers, especially APAS as well as NAMI, what will be their future directions? Will they consider upgrading the industry and help address the pain points? How will they be able to help address the rat race competition among the industry? Secretary, I'd like to save this question for the representative of the relevant R&D center. I understand that they have been making use of vehicle of things technology. It will go under the Productivity Council, but they will have the relevant strategies. Lawrence, we have renamed ourselves as the Center of Advanced Power and Autonomous Systems. This shows that in terms of the directions that we're going to take, we will focus on the popular areas adopted by the mainland as well as the rest of the world. One of the areas that we're going to focus on is new energy. We're developing the relevant technologies, including hydrogen power technology, so that businesses from Hong Kong as well as the mainland can obtain new technologies from our development. In terms of autonomous driving, we are developing the relevant AI technology. As we all know, the mainland has been performing very well in terms of developing autonomous driving technologies. We have been working with some mainland companies on developing eVTOL technology. We are in talks with these companies now. This is because autonomous driving can be applied to eVTOL devices. So we are working with the relevant organizations. Hopefully in future, with our R&D, we'll be able to benefit the local tech companies. Perhaps I will supplement. On autonomous driving, S3 has been studying the use of different systems. We focus on the environment in Hong Kong, which is very crowded with many cars on the road. We look at vehicle of things technology. We also look at sensing system, neuro sensing system, as well as smart bicycle systems to enhance the security of autonomous driving system and to promote the development of the industry. To put it simply, there are two types of autonomous driving systems. One of them, as mentioned, is smart bicycle systems. There could be installation of devices on lampposts or traffic lights, and then we can make use of the vehicle of things technology. Chairman, I don't think they have addressed my questions, but it doesn't matter. My question wasn't easy to answer. If they would be able to answer my questions, I hope that there could be a written reply. Your question was actually very good, but it was a very broad one. If possible, Secretary, perhaps you would want to arrange for a written reply so that members can learn more about it. Mr. Liao, could you stress again what is the focus of your question? Would you consider focusing on helping enterprises address their pain points in terms of upgrading and transforming themselves and in terms of addressing the rat race problem? This is the national strategy and our country's focus. There's an pressing need for us to rely on INT and new productive forces. So have you considered this, that is to help allocate more resources into addressing the pain points I mentioned? This way we can seize the opportunities of our country in terms of rationalizing the enterprises and addressing their pain points to tackle the rat race problem. Just now there was a discussion about how crowded Hong Kong is and how many cars we have. I don't think it was a direct response to my question. I do hope that there could be a written reply, but if not, I won't insist. In terms of INT, we saw a lot of great outcomes. For example, the Productivity Council. Years ago, developed an EV model, but we don't have such an industry in Hong Kong. So how can the government help commercialize our R&D outcomes? We have a major direction taken by our country in terms of how the SAR government could dovetail with that. I think, of course, it's up to the government. Secretary, if you need a couple of minutes to think about that. Well, I don't mind adding a few points to what Mr. Liao said. He mentioned about involution, rat race, new energy vehicles. From the technology perspectives, new energy vehicles rank the first around the world. It has nothing to do with involution or rat race. The considerations behind have to do with the geopolitical tension and landscape. Our country mentioned that we can develop the market and create a culture for that. So there are things that we can learn from our country. So what should Hong Kong do? I think in terms of technology, we can make use of the local R&D outcomes to contribute to our country. And apart from that, we should make use of our international environment to help enterprises to go global. We can promote their products to the rest of the world. Mr. Martin Liao raised a very good point to address the problem of involution, we need a strategy. If we can't catch up with the new technologies, there won't be rat race. To address involution is rather complicated because there are certain reasons that led to this problem. Regardless, the mission of these R&D centers in Hong Kong is to take root in Hong Kong, and where our country needs it, we will try our best to contribute to helping our country solve the problem. That's my supplementary response. Thank you. Mr. Robert Lee. Thank you, Chairman. I'd like to first thank the administration as well as the 5 centers for giving us the report today. They have been helping to promote the collaboration between the government, industry, academia, and research sectors. I'd like to ask from a rather macro perspective how the R&D centers will step up collaboration with financial institutions. I believe it is mostly the ASTRI that's able to do that. From official information, we see that these R&D centers have been promoting fintech and also blockchain technology, big data analytics, and cybersecurity technologies, and so on. Just now, the video that we saw gave an example of how R&D centers can work with banks. I also see that R&D centers have been working with regulators like the Hong Kong Monetary Authority. However, that's not enough. Will the R&D centers have greater collaboration with the financial services sector, including the Hong Kong Stock Exchange as well as the SFC? For gold and asset management, we have a great room of collaboration between the financial sector and I&T. However, we haven't seen many successful cases or examples in this regard yet. In future, will R&D centers collaborate more with the financial intermediaries? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lee, for your question. I understand that you come from finance sector, and so naturally you ask a question relevant to that sector. What you can see is this. The R&D centers are really more focused on applied technologies application. Now, the cyberport is positioned more to work through a blockchain and AI and also big data to cooperate with the financial sector. As for interline security and also cooperation with the finance sector, how can this be strengthened? This indeed is a very important agenda. I am going to ask the various directors to also ponder on that. So Hong Kong is a financial center at the same time, and so how can we work our model into the development of financial services? Now, if you work very closely and successfully with the finance sector, then this would become a very healthy cycle, and it would also serve the actual economy of Hong Kong. For instance, if the financial services can make use of latest technology to support the various components of our economy, then the entire portfolio will become strengthened and will become even more successful. And so I think you should look for ways to strengthen cooperation with the finance sector. Madam Hong. I've got several questions, and thank you, Bureau Secretary, for your presentation. Now, it seems that the number of new projects has come down by 35%. I'd like to know the reason for that. Does it mean that the industry faces structural challenges? Is it because changes to the global supply chain? or is it because of change in consumption behavior? Why is it that the industry seems to have less demand for applied research and development industry? And also concerning third-generation semiconductor, that's one of your focus areas. However, our microelectronics facilities is now under construction. I'd like to know what exactly is the division of labor, or will there be any consolidation between the two? Now, thirdly, concerning LSCM and Hong Kong retail will soon become financially self-sufficient. Starting from 2028, the government will cease to financially support these two. In order to reach self-sufficiency financially for these two institutes, does it mean that the government will allow them to make use of their relevant patents or to generate revenue from their research fruits and research results? Will the government have some sort of an interim program or a tying over program so that these two research institutes will not immediately be cut off cold turkey, so that they will be given more grace in becoming self-sufficiency, along the road of becoming self-sufficiency? Let me answer the third question. Now, why is it that for Hong Kong retail, the numbers have come down? Concerning third-generation semiconductor, we've just set up the Microelectronics Research Institute, and there will be two research lines in Yuen Long. Definitely, this institute will be the major component for Hong Kong's development in development of third-generation semiconductor. And of course, a small part of the work will also be undertaken by Applied Science and Technology Research Institute working with the Futian partners. However, most of the work related to a third-generation semiconductor will come under the Microelectronics Research Institute in Yuen Long. As for 3 years down the road, two of the research centers will become self-sufficient. Indeed, you've got a point. After years of operation, they have built up their own patents portfolio, intellectual properties portfolio, and they are worth something. And so we will encourage these two research institutes to make the best use of their intellectual property portfolios. Of course, one way is to commercialize their research fruits. And of course, there are other means, as you have mentioned. And the exact modus operandi will be left to the two boards to decide. We definitely will cease financing their operation starting from 2028. But the two research institutes have already built up a pool of expertise, and they can continue to apply to ITF for research and development project subsidies. If they can come up with great concepts for research and development, they can still benefit from subsidies coming out of ITF. It's only that operationally we won't be supporting them financially anymore. For instance, their office rentals, for instance, their staff costs at their headquarters, we won't be financing those anymore. We hope that they can find within their own means to cover those costs. Concerning research and development centers becoming self-sufficient, the government has been most prudent about this. These centers have already been in Hong Kong for already 20 years, and they have accumulated a wealth of experience as well as expertise. And we hope that they can continue to prosper and they can continue to do well. We believe that they are ready. Thank you, Madam Hong, for your question. We can see that all over the world, during the past few years, retail consumption has been weak. And of course, tariff is another source of impact. And it would impact exporters. And so with retail brands and also exporters and suppliers being impacted on, they, of course, will become much more cautious in spending money on research and development. And so, as you can see, this has contributed to the drop in numbers in this particular category. Before we move on to the next member, since we are supposed to end this at 3:30, so I will extend the ending time by 15 minutes. Madam Priscilla Leung, I thank the Bureau for its presentation on the R&D centers. I understand that you are going to open up AI research institutes as well as life sciences research institutes. My questions are as follows. Your first existing research and development centers is APUS, and there are 4 other existing centers. I'd like to know whether you have thought of any ways to increase their cooperation with Greater Bay Area cities. When I was members of the People's Congress, I have visited many areas in Greater Bay Area. I've been to Shenzhen. I've been to Shaoxing. Shenzhen, of course, is already very advanced in AI. But Shaoxing is supposed to be the focus city for life sciences. And of course, we have visited Xiaopeng automotive manufacturing plant in Shaoxing. And it is a deliberate move on the part of Xiaopeng to move their plant there. Now, if indeed Hong Kong can come up with a good patent, and also they in Shaoxing have already gotten their own production facility. And if Hong Kong does have the patent, then maybe we should look also at Greater Bay Area cities. So do you have any thoughts on the possibility of further cooperation with GBA cities? As for Hong Kong RITA, under D&E, I can see that they are working on projects for hyperactive students, working on a vest for them, and also uniforms for robots, and so on and so forth. Now, it seems that these are worth quite a lot when they're being applied onto the ground. Now, last time, we also discussed investment, but this time around, you only talk about research and studies. Can you come to your question? I think my first question is pretty clear concerning cooperation with GBA cities. And second question has to do with investment. And so I am echoing what Madam Lee has pointed out. So what about the investment side of things? Thank you for your 2 questions. Now, concerning cooperation with GBA cities. In recent years, the R&D centers have been putting a lot of focus on working with GBA cities, including entering into cooperation MOU with research institutes in GBA cities. For instance, S3 has entered into MOU, a partnership agreement in 2024 October with a Shenzhen Research Institute. And so this is a very concrete case where Hong Kong's R&D centers are cooperating with GBA cities. And in Q4, a facility will be set up and an MOU will be signed between research and development institutes in Hong Kong and the Futian counterpart. And also the LCSM is entering into MOU with various research institutes in Guangzhou. As for your second question, which is about investment side of the equation, and this is related somewhat to the previous question about cooperation with finance sector. And the SAR government actually has been working towards this very actively. Now, for the S3, it is supposed to support the industries to upgrade their technological prowess and levels. Now, for industries receiving the support because of the upgrading of their technological standards, they will also get support from GPA cities, and so that's investment. As for transformation, we hope that the industries themselves can reinvent their culture, and also spin-offs can coming out of these industries having received support. And that, of course, would involve investment of further resources. I'm sure that definitely will happen along the way. As for existing IDC, we are thinking about whether or not rules should be changed so that as long as clients won't be impacted, and when conditions are ripe, certain corporations can be spun off. I'd like to add.
Zhaoqing was neglected, but it's actually a place that is very suitable for life and health technology development. So I hope that there could be more collaboration between the R&D centers and Zhaoqing. Yes, that's the hometown of Professor Priscilla Leung. Mr. Edmund Wong, thank you. I'd like to learn about the manpower situation of the R&D centers. Last year, the 5 R&D centers in total hired 1,390 people. This year, the number stands at 1,314. So there was a drop of over 5% in terms of manpower. So what is the reason behind? Is it because some staff have left their positions and there was no plan to refill the vacancies, or was it because of some recruitment difficulties? Also, how many R&D centers have been engaging research talents through the Top Talent Pass scheme? How many of them were trained overseas? How many of them are trained locally? Secretary, I will first ask the Commissioner to reply. On manpower, I'll give an overall response. If individual representatives of the R&D centers would like to supplement, they could do so. There are 2 types of manpower. One type is responsible for the administrative work at the headquarters. They include management staff. And the other type of manpower we have are those who focus on the R&D work. I believe that every year there are changes in manpower because, for example, if a project has ended and another project has not kick-started yet, there is a gap in between. I believe this is one major reason. Also, every year, R&D centers have to report to their board of directors as well as the INT Commission on their establishment. They have to explain why there is an increase or a drop of manpower. As to your second question, I don't have the relevant figures in hand as to how the research talents are engaged. But our chief executive of one of the R&D centers came through the Top Talent Pass scheme. I have a question as well, Secretary. Over the past year, we see that each R&D center has done a lot of work in terms of containing their costs as well as increasing their revenue. I believe we all agree with that. In terms of being more market-oriented and in terms of the commercialization of R&D outcomes, I believe they can do more. We sometimes see R&D outcomes that are already available on the market. And for those R&D work, do we have to deploy the same amount of effort on those? Well, the chief executive is going to deliver his policy address tomorrow, and we are looking forward to what kind of measures that will benefit the INT sector. We always talk about KPIs. does the ITIB or the INT Commission set KPIs to control costs? Are there KPIs that would enable R&D centers to do better in terms of commercializing R&D outcomes? We understand that there are often changes in the R&D process, but are there any guidelines concerning commercialization of outcomes? I see that according to the paper, there are some very interesting products, such as there are food created from 3D printing. Also, R&D centers make use of old garment to create new clothing materials. I think the government should give more support to these local R&D projects. The Government Logistics Department, while it does not come under your bureau, I think in terms of procurement, it should support local R&D outcomes. The government should take the lead in this regard and use more products that are invented in Hong Kong. I think this will really be a shot in the arm for the local INT sector. Secretary, I thank the chairman for his speech. I totally agree that we need KPIs. If you ask the commissioner, he could tell you all about that in details. For R&D centers, well, why should the SAR government spend so many resources in setting up these R&D centers? One reason is that these centers is a major driving force for the local R&D sector. Their primary mission is to fulfill their responsibilities, while each center has its own missions. While these centers fulfill their missions, we hope that they can ensure sustainability as well as to increase revenue for the industry. IMEC is a well-known R&D center. It has over 1 billion euros of income. The government injected another 1.5 billion euros into the center, and it was exactly because it has its mission to be fulfilled. In the past, because of various constraints, we asked R&D centers to act as the bridge between universities. In terms of policy, we can consider relaxing restrictions and removing the relevant barriers. Without compromising the relevant services, we ask universities to work with the industry to increase their revenue. They could, for example, get licensing fees for certain projects. Previously, because of certain restrictions, they could not produce their own products. Now, in the future, they might be able to produce their own products. We hope that in future, where possible, there could be more locally manufactured products which can be used widely in Hong Kong. We will continue to explore this. I believe members of this council are all very willing to promote R&D outcomes in Hong Kong. Just now, Professor William Wong had another question to ask. We have some time left. It was a question about the administrative work. You had 4 questions and you only asked 3. Yes. On MRDI, there was planned to hire 200 people, and 170 of them would focus on R&D work. As at March, there were only 20 staff under the MRDI. So my question is, What is the latest progress in terms of recruiting staff by the MRDI? Also, according to the paper, by 2026, installation of pilot production lines will be completed. With the existing progress of recruiting staff, will the MRDI be able to achieve this? I ask Mr. J. Ko to I asked Dr. Gao Tang to address this question. I took office on the 2nd of January this year, and my team was waiting for me to recruit staff. We have about 30 people now, and another dozen of staff will report duties soon. Currently, because of visa problems, well, normally they have to wait for 2 to 3 months for their visas. Next year, after the launch of the pilot production lines, we believe that there will be about 120 to 150 staff. It's under 200 staff. That's because these staff come based on the projects available. We have some technology transfer projects this year. We also got 2 projects approved. Currently, we are pending applications for 2 other projects, and we are working to launch more projects. So, based on the project approval process, we will bring in more staff. If everything goes smoothly, we believe that by the end of next year or the year after the next, we will have about 200 staff. All right, you've all asked questions. I have a request, Secretary. I hope that you can have an R&D project that can explore how we can remove the smoke when a charger is overheated. That would be very beneficial. All right, thanks for attending this item. The next meeting will be held on the 30th of September. It will run from 4:30 to 6 p.m. Any other business? If not, thank you.